完璧などありえない。この世界は不完全だから美しい。
もうバカバカバカ。
何？
俺は海賊王になる。
なんて美味しさなの。
力を渡した時に言ったことを覚えているかい？くれ。違う、そこじゃない。
変態遅い。
Hello and welcome to More Than Hentai, a podcast that is here to show you that anime is far more than just tentacles and catgirls. There's also countless stories of love, loss, laughs, hope, horror, and happiness that it is dying to be found. And I, Brendan White, the Salt and Pepper Senpai, am here to help you find them. More Than Hentai is proudly powered by our friends over at Audio Technica and our new friends over at Boss Coffee. Go upgrade your audio and coffee-based game today. Once you're done listening to this fantastic podcast, of course. And joining me in the studio is a dear friend who is equal parts manga journalist, fantasy author, and avid JRPG enthusiast. He's the co-founder and editor of Anime Atelier, Piplup's #1 fan, and the owner of one of the best-looking manga collections I have ever seen. Hashtag totally not jealous. Please go and find him on the socials at Brett Michael Orr. Brett Michael Orr, you bloody legend. Welcome to the studio. How might you be doing, my friend?
Hello, thanks for having me on the show. I'm doing well.
That's what I like to hear. I know you've been up against it the last couple of weeks. The dreaded sickness has got you down, but you managed to sort of summon enough energy, summon enough moxie to join me in the studio here to talk all things anime.
The power of anime compels me.
I can not argue with that in any way, shape, or form. But I guess before we sort of do get to the meat and potatoes of why we're here and the anime in focus we're going to be talking on here on More Than Hentai, let's maybe take a step back. Let's sort of go that 1,000-foot view. Let's talk about you and all the great things that you do. And then we'll also then shift into maybe a bit about your anime journey as well. So do you want to tell the audience a little bit about yourself? We can go as tangential as you like. We can take it down any direction, any avenue. The floor is yours. Just give me the Brett Michael Orr experience.
Yeah. As you mentioned, I'm the current co-founder of Anime Atelier, which is a new independent anime news and manga website. And I also am the cosplay columnist over at JList blog. And yeah, I pretty much do everything related to writing and creative work. I've been known to draw some anime and write about, cosplay and manga and all that sort of fun stuff in that neck of the weeb world.
You've been keeping yourself busy because now you're also sort of handling a lot of the social content that's tied into Anime Atelier there, where you're doing some fantastic little video edits for some of the news pieces you're covering, which is gathering a lot of great traction on the socials. So where the hell do you find the time?
I'm stealing it from the end of the candle, quite honestly. I am burning out badly. And that's probably why I get sick. But no, honestly, the social stuff, we actually have a great socials team already who keeps on top of a lot of stuff. But I spend way too much time on TikTok, as my phone is always willing to tell me. And I just thought, hey, we've got a TikTok account for Atelier. I have Canva Premium. Let's make something work here. And that's actually been doing quite well, which I'm really happy with.
Yeah, me too. Super clean, super accessible, really good content. Obviously, all of the links to Anime Atelier as well as all of Brett's stuff is down below in the episode show notes. So be sure to check all that out once you're done consuming this episode. We were talking offline regarding that rather impressive manga collection that you have. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think you said you have over 900 in the collection now. Is that the number you threw at me just casually?
Yeah, just casually. It's around about 900 volumes of manga and light novels. That doesn't include some of my fantasy novels as well. So pretty soon we'll be hitting the 1,000 volume mark.
You need to have a party to celebrate that milestone somehow.
I think I'm legally qualified to call it a library.
Mm.
If I add the Dewey Decimal System, I think it becomes a library.
You could start charging admission for people to come in and check it out. Oh, but then it gets messy trying to track. You wouldn't say renting,
and only
borrowing.
Only my fingers are allowed to touch the volumes. I don't trust people.
I just picture you be there with like a big ruler just swiping people's hands when they get close. Stay away from those spines.
That said, I am single and available, crowd. So,
Like I said,
maybe
all the
you
links
could
are in the show
share-
notes.
you could share in the 1,000 volumes if you like my type of manga.
There you go, listeners and viewers. If you play your cards right, you might be able to flick through Brett's pages, if you know what I'm saying. So, check him out via the social links below. But let's now sort of go back in time. Let's talk about where your anime journey began. We can talk about sort of where and how you stumbled across this fantastic medium, some of your personal favorites and whatnot, and anything else you wanted to share. So where did anime in your life intersect?
I mean, like most people of the millennial generation, obviously, my earliest memories is growing up with like things like Yu-Gi-Oh on screen back when it was like Cheese TV, I think. But my first memory of like, I guess, choosing my own anime to consume, I remember I won a box set of Bleach season 1 through like a magazine that I was subscribed to. I must have been like, I don't know, probably I was like 12 or something. And I had a little portable DVD player with like 4:3 ratio, little battery pack and everything. And I remember just kind of like putting season 1 in, getting hit with the like orange range asterisk, which to me is like just nostalgia. Like it's everything nostalgic about anime to me. And it being in Japanese and being incredibly confused about why it was playing in Japanese, because I'm like 12 years old and I don't know what's going on. And no, I binged the hell out of Bleach. I watched it multiple times over. Didn't understand at the time like how to get more anime. Because it's not really something, at the time, like I said, things just were on TV. And I remember seeing like Death Note on SBS at like 10 p.m. or something, really late at night. But then, sort of after that, I just ended up devouring manga at my local library. I became like a big like manga, but I'm sure I like annoyed the librarians with putting in requests for manga. But I remember getting Full Metal Alchemist. And not only that, but like the first volume of the manga, but also like some of the DVDs that you could also get through the library. And so like between FMA and Bleach, those were like my foundational like series that I absolutely fell in love with.
That's a good foundation to build off too.
Yeah,
God damn.
yeah. I think it's why I'm incredibly biased towards like big three with Bleach, because I don't know why I couldn't get into Naruto. I remember being distinctly annoyed at Naruto. Like I just don't gel at all, which immediately is earning me dislikes in the comments here. But yeah, I started out with those, and then I kind of got more into Western fiction for a little while, and then I can't quite remember. I was sort of around maybe like 2016. I kind of got back into it via light novels and then anime through that when the fantastic Anime Lab was a thing, which was the Australian Skunkworks project, which was then bought out and consumed by Funimation, and Funimation into Crunchyroll. So it's been an interesting kind of like patchwork journey for me of like sort of finding anime and manga in different little areas, and then it's sort of only really been the last few years that I've gotten more heavily involved, especially when I started working as a journalist for anime.
And on the journalism front, before we start to maybe talk about some of your favorite anime, whether it be current airing stuff or just anime of all time, how's it feel knowing you've got your own anime outlet like Anime Atelier? You've got your own website. You're doing fantastic content there. You're working with great people. It feels pretty bloody good to know this is something that you've built from the ground up, right? Like you can sit back almost like proud parent style sometimes, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's really humbling, especially because our industry, the entire journalism industry, no matter where you are at the moment, has been facing a lot of change. Change to short form video, changes with AI, And then you have, in general, just our anime industry is a very small one. It is very, very close knit. Everyone knows each other. It's very, very small pool of readers. And so I feel incredibly lucky to be able to work with some fantastic people at Atelier. And my editor-in-chief, Tamara, she is an incredible person. I couldn't pick a better person to work with. And yeah, we're able to do our things our way at Atelier. We're really proud of that. And we've already, off to the races with some, fantastic coverage over of Anime NYC and PAX in the West Coast. And then I'll be covering PAX here in Australia. And yeah, we punch above our weight. And we're doing really well with a sort of diverse crew around the world. I'm here in Australia. My editor-in-chief is in Bosnia. We've got people in the Philippines. We've got people in America. And we somehow managed to make it work. We pull together and we do weekly newsletters. We do, multiple articles a day, interviews with, anime studios and artists, and just, a whole lot of excellent stuff that I'm really proud of to be involved in.
You'll keep very, very busy and keep the readers very entertained because it's easy, it's accessible content. It's written in a way that is both casual but informative, and it feels like there's no, like, just from my perspective, it feels like there's very little barrier to entry with getting involved and understanding what you're talking about. Like, it's not done in any form of elitist capacity. Like you said, you guys are boots on the ground, grinding on the daily, doing this as a love project, and you can really see that come through with the content. So yeah, hat tip to you and the crew for having a go and doing well. And I love your little mascot, even though we were just talking about cats and dogs a minute ago, I love and adore that little thing.
I have to give a shout out to our artist. You can find her online as Saltwater Daisy. She does the most adorable little cat mascot for Anime Atelier. And if you subscribe to the newsletter that I put out weekly, every week there is our cat cosplaying as a relevant anime character from that week. And I have it on good authority that this week it is a character from Jujutsu Kaisen, but you'll have to read the newsletter to find out who.
And it's a great read. It's an easy read. You can consume that with your breakfast or over a cup of coffee or while you're doing a poo or wherever you're doing your reading. You can enjoy this newsletter. I check it out every week and you all should too. So be sure to head on over to the website and register to get access to that newsletter and see all these fantastic little cat cosplays. I've got a question for you now. I want to know, what are your personal favorite anime? We don't yuck nobody's yums here. We don't shame anybody's fandoms. I know some of your taste, depending on who you're talking to, could raise an eyebrow from time to time, but my eyebrows are going to stay perfectly here on the horizontal. I'm going to embrace whatever you throw at me here. But yeah, let's sort of just talk through some of your personal favorites.
Completely unranked, because I can never rank these things, no matter how much AniList wants me to try. I would have to say, kind of going backwards in terms of like most recent things, Frieren has been a instant classic, definitely top 3. I know I just said I wouldn't rank things, but Frieren is up there. As much as I can't rewatch it because it makes me cry, Fruits Basket is a legendary series for me. I am a card-carrying Fate aficionado. I think I even have that title on our Atelier Discord. I am just like the person to go to for anything Fate Stay Night related. That's like a big series for me. As I mentioned earlier, Bleach, and particularly like Bleach 1000 Year Blood War, I think has been absolutely incredible. I also really enjoy just sort of lighthearted comedies at times. So like some of my favorites is Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, Heroines Run the Show, KonoSuba, which we're here to talk about today. And yeah, just things that either put a smile on the face or a good think piece. I feel like everyone says this these days, but Attack on Titan probably also rounds out my top list.
That's a great list. I do enjoy that it is very diverse. It's not just one specific genre heavy. Like, you're not just saying, I live and breathe shonen or whatever. Like, that was such a a nice wide assortment of anime, and
It's
I'm in
it
agreement.
pretty
Some
much
of those are on my
matches
list
what
as
I
well.
own.
Yeah.
Yeah, it pretty much matches what I own in terms of what I read as well. Like everything from shoujo romance to comedy to shonen. I'm kind of drawn as a creator myself, as someone who is like a writer. I'm drawn to those really well constructed worlds and characters. So I can kind of appreciate anything that's just got a good story to tell.
If there's heart, humor, heaviness, or horniness, there's a chance you're going to be a fan. That's what I'm taking away from this discussion.
Sounds about right.
Put that on your business card. All right. So as Brett mentioned, we are here to talk about one particular anime title in focus. The way that More Than Hentai works is we're going to do a singular deep dive on one anime. In prior episodes, we've focused on maybe just doing a singular, like, first episode deep dive. But what we're going to do here is sort of broad stroke across the first 3 episodes, because I feel the rule of 3 is a good way to get a gauge on if an anime may or may not be for you. So we're going to be talking about this anime going higher level across a whole host of categories and sort of subcontext within those categories on the first 3 episodes of KonoSuba, as Brett mentioned. Firstly, to everybody that is checking out the podcast for the first time, thank you. But secondly, what took you so bloody long? We've been doing this now for a little while. If you can, rate, review, subscribe this podcast and all the other podcasts you listen to on the regular. Those ratings and reviews, they take you no time, they cost you no money, but they mean the world to content creators. So pay it forward when and where you can, because those little things mean big things to us. But yeah, I guess we can sort of jump on in and get a bit of background context here on the title in question. Obviously, we mentioned is KonoSuba, which is known as an adventure comedy fantasy, which began initially as a light novel series written by Natsume Akatsuki and illustrated by Kurone Mishima. A manga adaptation arrived just under 2 years later, going on to sell, as of December 2024, around 10 million copies. Since then, we've also seen a video game, audio CD, and film also released based on the IP. An anime television series adaptation written by Makoto Uezu and music by Masato Koda debuted way back in January of 2016 and is animated by Studio Dean, the studio behind such titles as Brett mentioned before, like Fruit Basket, Fate Stay Night, Vampire Night, Higurashi, and Is This a Zombie? KonoSuba can be found on Crunchyroll and Netflix, pending your region, and currently holds a score of 8.09 on my anime list based on 1.3 million unique user reviews, making it the 39th most popular anime overall on the website. And the story of KonoSuba is as follows. Kazuma Sato dies a hilariously pathetic death and gets offered a choice by the loudmouthed goddess Aqua: heaven or a respawn in a real fantasy world. Naturally, he picks the RPG Dream Life and even drags Aqua along as his, in quotes, special item. Big mistake. She's useless, broke, and just as much trouble as any Demon King. Instead of epic quests, the two end up stuck with debt, odd jobs, and non-stop disasters. Their misadventures have only just begun. So, Brett Michael Orr, let's go high level. Let's talk about sort of our general impressions, our general feelings, our general vibe check before we start sort of doing a bit of a deeper dive, section by section here. So I know you're a big KonoSuba tragic. You mentioned it earlier. It is one of your favorite anime from your overall list, but sort of thinking back, whether it be the rewatch you've done for this potty or thinking back for when you first stumbled across this, 9 years ago now, how were you feeling after sort of watching those 3 episodes?
I think it actually holds up even better now than it did when I first encountered it, because KonoSuba is in large part a parody of a lot of fantasy and of a lot of isekai, and boy howdy, have we seen a lot of isekai in the last few years. So I find, interestingly enough, I kind of find it has more to say now than it did when it first came out, just by sheer volume of isekai that have been put on our screens.
I'm with you in complete lockstep here. Like, doing the rewatch this past week or so just to get it fresh in my mind for tonight's recording, I was cackling. Like, it is so funny. It knows exactly the target audience. It knows exactly where and who it's poking the fun towards and the tropes it's leaning into and the genres it's sort of sticking its tongue out at. And it's just enjoyable. It's quirky, it's silly, it's a little bit pervy, it's a little bit cheeky. It is a lot of the things that I enjoy in my media. I like the animation, like we'll talk about that in more details later, but I feel Studio Dean did really well. They understood the assignment. The voice work is great. The character's memorable. And yeah, after those 3 episodes, I'm like, man, do I just keep going and watch all the way through again to be caught up, even though we've got, more content on the way? But yeah, I left watching those 3 episodes this week very happy.
Yeah, it's a brilliant series that I find it always puts a smile on your face. Even though, ironically, pretty much all of the characters are kind of bad people. I find that you're just having fun the whole time, and it doesn't even matter if you're not a big isekai watcher. It's not a very sort of pointed parody that requires a lot of intimate knowledge. If you've watched one, you've watched them all. It's kind of having a laugh at the expense of a few different shows, but more at the tropes and more of the overall parodying than requiring you to know each and every franchise that it might be referencing.
I feel, especially just trying to think of recency when it comes to notable isekai, I feel this is the inverse of something like a ReZero, which takes itself very seriously, which emotionally rips you apart, where this just emotionally makes you nearly pee your pants at times. They couldn't be more separate, but yet they can somehow coexist in that overall isekai tapestry.
It's funny you say that. I didn't mention it earlier because I don't find the anime is quite as good as the light novel. I am a ReZero tragic, though. Rem is my absolute, perfect all-time waifu. I have an entire section of my figure cabinet dedicated
the Rem wing.
to Rem, and only Rem is allowed on that shelf. That is how much I love Rem. And anyone who was at the PAX Waifu World Cup last year in Australia might have noticed one particularly strong Rem shipper. That was me. But it's interesting you mentioned ReZero because KonoSuba was written like many of the sort of light novels of its era. It was originally published as a web novel online for free on a website. And Natsume Akatatsuki was friends with ReZero's author, and also by extension friends with Mushoku Tensei's author. All 3 of those kind of moved in the same circles at the same time. They had their web novels coming out at the same time, and they all got picked up as light novels at roughly the same time as well. So it's kind of interesting because KonoSuba is itself riffing off of its sequel series, and there are actually a few little references hidden, I think, in season 3 of KonoSuba, references to ReZero that are kind of blink and you miss it. So I quite like that they're kind of bouncing off of each other in that way, just by being, I guess, authors all at the same time.
I love that you mentioned 3 isekai that share similarities, but tonally they couldn't. Oh, I guess ReZero and Mushoku Tensei have a little bit more similarity tonally at times. But yeah, KonoSuba is certainly the one that stands out amongst those 3 as far as the one that leans more into just the zaniness and the cheekiness, where I don't really agree with some of the things Rudius does and the people he decides to bring into the fold, so to speak, talking broadly. But you know what? People make decisions. They aren't always the right ones, and that's a discussion for another day. But let's shift focus. We'll move into sort of story and world building is sort of what I've got this sort of next segment categorized as, and I'll sort of do a little bit of a quick overview regarding my thoughts on the world building, and then throw it over to you, and then chuck a couple of questions your way as well. But I like that KonoSuba, and we've sort of touched on this, it does pretty well quickly right off the get-go flip that typical isekai script, seeing Kazuma Sato, your very average NEET gamer that everyone is well aware of. The fact that he dies in such a ridiculous accident, it just made me cackle again when I rewatched it this week. And then sort of seeing him meet Aqua, who was just this flirty but just utterly useless goddess in the afterlife again. I'm like, the hooks that they were implanted in me years ago, but I felt like they reestablished themselves rewatching it this week, because it's just a fun, just eye-catching, attention-grabbing sort of start. I'm intrigued and interested by this world. I love that we are getting, the fantasy world that everyone's so familiar with, whether it be in anime or other forms of media. But seeing him sort of then turn it on its head where he chooses Aqua to be his item, I think it's a really fun, clever touch and a really like fresh take on the isekai formula. We do see the world, it does have that very familiar JRPG vibe. You've got your goblins, your quests, your guilds, etc. So that's all familiar, but I do enjoy that everything is sort of slightly broken, slightly quirky, and a little left of center in comparison to most of the other isekai we watch. And there's no grand explanation. There's no massive big lore dump. We just get Kazuma's sarcastic commentary sort of letting us understand this world bit by bit and then sort of folding in Aqua's crazy antics over the top of that. That's what's sort of building this world. And I really enjoy that different way to sort of give us the background and the storytelling and give us a bit more familiarity with the world itself. How do you find the world building in Konosuba there?
Yeah, I very much agree there. I find, like I said, because Konosuba is a parody series, it's assuming you've at least touched one fantasy series. And to be honest, you're right. Like, they are all the same. At the town of Axel, where Kazuma and Aqua first get reincarnated, is literally just called the Town of Beginnings, and it is the most generic town of beginnings possible. It has the guild girl with the massive jugs, because apparently every fantasy isekai needs that. Like, the credit,
if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Apparently,
the credits at the end of each episode only ever gives like adventurer and guild girl as names, a little bit like Goblin Slayer, but Goblin Slayer does it in a completely dark, serious tone, because those characters are meant to just be pieces on a chessboard. Konosuba does it because it's meaningless. It doesn't matter who these people are; they just kind of like stand-ins. So yeah, I really enjoy the way as well that like it sets itself up to do like a cheat skill in terms of being able to get any power you want and, trying to outsmart the goddess by choosing the goddess. You could easily see other series taking that to, I've got the level 999 cheat skill goddess ability, but then, as you said, flipping that on its head and having the most useless, pathetic, whining, champagne loving. Literally, I don't think there was a worse choice. I think even picking nothing at all would have been more beneficial to Kazuma than picking Aqua. I think he made the worst choice possible, quite frankly.
I think you're bang on the money, but I love her so much. Like, even though she is the hottest of hot messes and constantly causing far more harm than good, like, I would love to have her in my party. Like, she is a good time girl. She is dramatic. She does cry a lot. She does create a lot of chaos and drama, but she does have a heart amongst that sort of severely alcohol damaged liver and whatnot. So she's great, and I like that it is a good foil for that typical sort of isekai vibe. I do enjoy that there isn't any heavy info dump in these episodes. Like, the info is emerging through this constant chaos and the cluelessness and the disorganization and, Kazuma's cynicism and things like that. So that's where the story and what's happening sort of plays out just through these little soft tells, which I enjoy. The world's mechanics, like you mentioned there, like, it is a very lived-in world, warts and all, which I appreciate. How did you find, like, the hook strength? Did you find that the hook and just, I guess, the different way to tell the standard isekai story, was it like something that grabbed you immediately when you sort of watched it way back when, and maybe when you've rewatched it or reread it since?
Absolutely, because there's pretty much nothing like it. I can't think of, like, even a lot of other comedy fantasy series, comedy isekai. I think maybe the closest I could say is Bofuri. I want to max out my defense, which kind of has a similar absurdity to it, but Konosuba's absurdity just kind of stands out to me. I mean, who even writes a story about someone being reincarnated and choosing a useless goddess who makes their life worse, and a party of other useless members as well? It's not just the one. It's the fact that, as you said, like, everything in this world is just kind of broken and stupid, and no one really seems to care. It's so utterly unique that if you've been wanting something different, if you're tired of, like, the usual fantasy, system, but you kind of want something funny. I think it's got everything you could possibly want.
I think so. Like, I just keep, like, in my notes, I just wrote, like, it's just funny fantasy. And we don't often get it, or we see some of these fantasy or isekais try to, but they don't nail the tone to the success that KonoSuba does. Like, Bofuri, I really enjoyed the first season. The second season, I kind of hated. I don't know what happened, but just tonally, it just shifted too much for me. And I just couldn't vibe with it as heavily as I did with that first season. Really cool concept, though. But like you said, I feel KonoSuba really does stand alone or stand apart in more of these comedic isekai, comedic fantasy-based stories, or at least I haven't found anything that could land with the same level of consistency that KonoSuba does. And that's, I think, a testament to the writing.
KonoSuba's consistency as a comedy series kind of comes first to me, with the fantasy trappings second. And I was actually talking about this with someone else earlier today. KonoSuba, to me, is the anime fantasy equivalent of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia or Seinfeld, if you go back a little further, in that these main characters are quite honestly bad people, or at least not good people. They're very selfish, they're very narcissistic, and the best punishment that you could give them is that they're forced to be together, which means the comedy per episode is always just going to be them trying to do something, screwing it up because of themselves, trying to get out of it by digging a deeper hole, and then maybe the end of the episode is just breaking even. And you come back each week because you see a little bit of yourself in them, or you just want to see them be punished just a little bit. It's kind of the equivalent of why we all used to like watching YouTube videos of some guy getting kicked in the nuts. It's just funny. It isn't highbrow. It's funny because it's funny, and that's what I find with KonoSuba. Its writing strength is in the characters and how they interact with each other, how they try and better their own lives only to immediately mess it up and then try and fix it while shouting at each other.
Yeah, I think even though like neither of us have been isekai that I'm aware of, neither of us have been in a fantasy world or had like a god as their item of choice, I feel that there is a lot of strange relatability to these characters, and we'll talk more about that in a second. But yeah, I completely agree with you. I love the Always Sunny and the Seinfeld references, because that is in itself the sort of vibe this is going for, and it's a vibe that I adore. Like, growing up in the 90s, I consumed Seinfeld. You know, every week we would watch it around at the dinner table, or in the lounge room after dinner with mum and dad and whatever else, and it's a part of my DNA. And then that weird sort of nostalgic touchstone somehow has relevance in an anime about an isekai fantasy, you know, several decades later, is just insane. But that comp you mentioned, it just works.
Yeah. It's definitely how we all see a little bit of ourselves that we don't like in characters like that, and you enjoy watching people get their comeuppance, but it's not mean about it. Nothing terrible is happening to the people around them. Nothing terrible is really happening to them. It's just a little bit of karmic justice.
Yeah, completely agree. But as far as the broader world building, the broader story, like what is at stake here? Like, on the surface, it's about defeating the Demon King. That's sort of the overall premise. But like we mentioned directly and indirectly in the discussion we've just been sharing, beneath that, I feel what else is at stake is just general survival. Like, these guys and girls are struggling right off the rip, struggling in all aspects of life. So it's about them taking whatever job they can to bring in some income to be able to buy food and lodgings and stuff. So it is a simple premise with that overarching, like, oh, there's a devil king. We gotta take him down eventually. Will they, won't they? Who knows? But like, seeing just the constant hijinks to get them to that ultimate endpoint is just really enjoyable and a good watch.
I think that pathetically capitalist approach also hits so much harder now. Like you mentioned about, like, I don't think either of us have been isekai'd. I don't know. I was broke when I was a baby. Like, that's kind of how it feels. You get transported to another world and it's like, do you have money? No. Like, no one has any money. And so you go and get a job. Like, that's the start to your fantasy adventure. The start to your fantasy adventure is finding out that you need money to register for an Adventurers Guild card. Which is the equivalent of needing to pay for the library card. You can't even get started without them. You can't make money without having money to make the money. It's just, it's too realistic sometimes.
Maybe we have been isekai'd, and now I'm just having a moment of realization mid-podcast that
Where are my
thought was a lie.
Where are my cat girls then? I've been ripped off.
Yeah, like I love my two Frenchie boys. But yeah, I'd prefer like a couple of cat girls wouldn't be too bad. But yeah, moving forward, last bit before we jump into characters and chemistry, I wanted to ask the question, plot or not? And I feel it's definitely plot as far as what we get in these first 3 episodes. Like we get some good challenges piled upon, surviving, the formation of the party, etc. So there is sort of momentum throughout these 3 episodes that is built upon.
Yeah, first 3 episodes are probably the most plot heavy in all of KonoSuba. Like there's 3 seasons, 1 spin-off season and a movie, and I think the first 3 are probably the most plot heavy. For people who are listening to this, I have all of the light novels on the shelf behind me. I can attest to the fact that this is the most plot that we're going to get. That is not a bad thing at all. It is very much sustained comedy, but it does spend the first few episodes nicely setting up what you can expect for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I agree with you there. All right, so let's shift into characters and chemistry. We'll sort of judge the strength of the cast early on. The great thing is we do get our sort of party formed here in these first 3 episodes. We get our sort of main 4 primary leads that we are riding and dying with throughout the future seasons and what have you. How would you sort of describe our 4 mains? Like, have you got a particular standout or a favorite amongst the 4? But also maybe give us some high level thoughts on each of our foursome as well.
Well, equally useless probably is the first statement that comes to mind. Kazuma is, as we've said, is our isekai protagonist who has absolutely no skills whatsoever. Didn't get anything except luck, which is immediately offset by Aqua, who canonically has the lowest intelligence rating that the Adventurers Guild has ever seen. And in the light novels actually has a negative luck stat, so she offsets Kazuma's luck stat. So when they're together, they are just completely nuked out. And then we have the newcomers to the party being Megumin, our grand mage who could be incredibly powerful, but she only knows 1 spell and can only use 1 spell once per day, which leaves her unconscious. And it leaves her unconscious. It's so powerful, it just destroys friends and foes around it. And rounding out the party, you have Darkness, who is the masochistic crusader who can take a beating, but literally cannot hit anything at all with her sword. Out of all 4 of them, they are the most uniquely terrible at doing anything in a fantasy world.
They're so great, and I love how they're so unique, but then so similar in just their overall uselessness and how they synergize with their traits or lack thereof, or their abilities and perks or lack thereof. Like they just work together. Like it is an odd coupling, but I couldn't see them existing in any other way. And yeah, I think like I like Kazuma. Yeah, he's sort of our skeptical voice in fantasy that's gone sideways. Like, yeah, very cynical, very lazy, but can be surprisingly heartfelt and resourceful at times. So you do see some of that play out. Like you said with Aqua, like she is prideful, but also very, very useless. But her comedic timing often carries this IP for me, because she is just a hoot, even if she's not intentionally trying to be funny. Just how much of a hot mess and a disaster she is as a person or a goddess, knows no bounds. Megumin and the explosion just is never not a good time. And yeah, I love that she just wants to be the best mage ever, and she's just hyper fixated on this type of magic. And you find out more why in the spin-off series and what have you, which I think was some good storytelling. We're not here to talk about that today, but she is awesome, dramatic and absurd, logical and weird in equal measure, I feel, with her. And then yeah, Darkness, that masochistic streak just kills me. Like she's so over the top, but she's so unforgettable due to all that as well. Like, they're just one of the best foursomes in all of media. And like anyone that's iffy or talks or slanders KonoSuba, like I'm immediately ready to throw hands because I love these four and they just bring me so much joy from all the things they do or don't get up to. And yeah, I think the strength of that cast is what carries this. That combined with the writing and that comedic timing is what makes this sort of a must watch, in my opinion.
I think I understand people who try watching and think that it's going to be an overtly pervy or an overtly edgy anime because it has elements of that, but it is parodying that. And the way that a character like Darkness, is parodied by being the masochist who, likes to strip down and get hit with cabbages. It has elements where you'd be like, okay, maybe you don't want, mom and dad walking in while you're watching it, but it isn't actually, I find at least it's a series that doesn't degrade its own characters. They are degrading themselves, quite frankly. And I think when you're doing it to yourself, it's fine. It's like we were saying earlier, shows like Seinfeld and Always Sunny. When you have these types of characters who are objectively just kind of a little messed up, but it's through their own actions, it's through their own personalities. It isn't through someone exploiting them. It's just mostly their faults, and they could fix that, but they don't want to. That makes it funny. And like that's what we said about like the rule of three. If you watch the first episode and you're not convinced, it's definitely worth sticking around, because once the foursome has formed, and once they start bouncing off each other, is when you can start seeing how the humor works, and why the characters are sort of each pushed to their extremes, because it is ultimately funnier if you have characters that are extreme in different ways.
I completely agree with you. I feel once you see this group come together and officially form by the end of the third episode, like that is where the chemistry is just starting to soar and really take shape. And their dynamics, like it just becomes this comedic machine. Like with each new member, the zaniness and the hilarity and the comedic timing and just the general just what the hell just continues to build on top of each other and just crescendos when you see all four of them finally come together, and it just works. As far as the character designs themselves, I enjoy it. Like, I like that all four of them are distinctive in their look and their aesthetic, but they're not over the top. They're not over embellished. Like, the animation and the art style is simplistic, and I don't mean that in a negative way in any stretch of the word there. Like, I feel it's really well done. Studio Dean has executed this assignment to perfection, and I feel it really works. But I enjoy the four characters and even just like as far as the designs themselves when we're meeting NPCs and other ancillary characters, I feel everyone in this world looks good. They look the part. They look like they should exist there. And I do also respect that Megumin's got an eye patch. Like, I'm such a sucker for an eye patch baddie. So the second I saw her years ago, I'm like, yes!
She is the Chunibyo parody. With her eye patch that is purely fashion.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, no. It is protecting us from her immense power.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
It's so good. But what did you think about those character designs and just the look of not only our four MCs, but also, I guess, the world in general?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's been really well done, and I think it's simplistic enough for a comedy series. You really don't want that over embellish. And Studio Dean's kind of what's the right way to say it? I guess the way that they make the characters move and some of the absurdity that you need to get out of characters wouldn't look great if they were super realistic. It's also very, very close to the manga. The character designs very close on the manga, which again did a fantastic job at knowing when to simplify. Which I guess is kind of a general rule of comedy. Most comic artists will tell you that you need to be able to simplify your characters. Even the fact that all four of them are a distinctive color which is used to great effect in the loading, in the like almost loading screens between each of the scenes, the KonoSuba. It's all different colors from each of the characters, which is just, and also that's another great, who puts comedy into the pre-ad roll? Only KonoSuba has done that. But yeah, the character designs are really, really nice, really unique. I have many figures of the characters. And yeah, I would have to say my fave character is probably also Megumin. And close Darkness is a close second for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, if we were, like, I was going to just ask you about your waifu / husbando ranking, who you'd put at the top of your list here. Megumin, like I mentioned, eye patch baddies always get some bonus points from my end, but I wouldn't be upset. Like, yeah, Darkness, fantastic. I'm not opposed to a bit of masochism here and there. And even like, I've dated and been in relationships with many a hot mess. I've been a hot mess myself sometimes too. So there is some relatability and some old time comfort with Aqua as well. So like, if any of those three decided that they wanted to be in a relationship with me, I wouldn't be opposed to that. But yeah, Megumin is sort of best girl from this series for me.
I think it's outside the scope of the 3 episodes, but Wiz and Vanya coming in sort of mid-season are another 2 fantastic characters. Wiz adds a airhead in a different manner. I absolutely love her, which is balanced out by her shopkeep demon Vanya, who is trying desperately to make money despite having a shopkeep who wants to lose it.
And shout out also to Union, Megumin's rival.
Yes,
she is fantastic. We don't really deal with her in these episodes, but she is a great character in herself as well.
Absolutely love Union, and I feel so bad for her, but she does get redeemed, and she does get plenty of screen time in The Legend of Crimson, which is the anime film, and also just Explosion on This Wonderful World, which is the spin-off anime series.
Yeah, for sure. So let's shift across. We'll talk about the animation, the style, and in a little bit more of a specific nature. Like, Brett, you did touch on it very briefly as far as Studio Dean's decisions and the synergistic nature in how it like rips stuff straight across from sort of panel to the screen itself. But yeah, I do appreciate, like, with the art and the fluidity, very basic animation, which does sharpen that comedic timing, which you talked about, and just the expressive faces just further hammer home some of those comedic moments. Like, and they lean into those imperfect frames to great effect for character and humor. So I'm a big fan of that. Anything else you want to add on art and fluidity, or should we shift and maybe talk about some of the color and lighting that's utilized throughout these episodes?
The only thing I would say on animation, for anyone who noticed that I did say I'm a Fate Stay Night lover, is I have the most love-hate relationship with the fact that Studio Dean is behind the first 2 seasons of KonoSuba, because Studio Dean absolutely murdered Fate Stay Night in 2006, and it is one of the most complicated parts of getting people into Fate Stay Night, is that we have to tell them to avoid Studio Dean's original 2006 anime and the 2008 Unlimited Blade Works film. Both of those do not exist, dear viewer. It is a hoax. On the internet, just like birds. It is not real.
I've heard that.
So the fact that I have to come around to praise Studio Dean's animation for KonoSuba really hurts me. I guess studios are allowed to grow, though, in the span of like 15 years. I imagine most people completely cycled over. And same with Fruits Basket. I much prefer TMS Entertainment's remake than Studio Dean's original. But again,
so do I.
It's sort of, close to 20 years difference. So we'll give them a pass. But yeah, it's always a fun little thing for me.
Yeah, it feels like Studio Dean was certainly touching a couple of nerves there, tied into some IP that you absolutely adore, and handling some very well and some not so well, I guess, to put it lightly there. But yeah, I really appreciate the usage of color and lighting, like, very vibrant fantasy hues in this series and in these episodes, bright taverns, lively guilds. And then we do see sort of these dramatic contrasts for when they do spotlight the very absurd poses that we see from the characters. So yeah, color and lighting's great. From sort of a stylistic standpoint, I think one of the moments that stand out is when we do see Megumin theatrically cast the explosion spell, and then just see
Yes.
her like exhausted and collapsing afterwards. Like, it is a perfect blend of drama and humor, but it is also very vibrant and impactful, literally and visually. So that's sort of a scene that stands out to me from a visual standpoint. Have you got one, like, when we're talking artistically, that you think about from these first 3 episodes where you go, oh, god damn, Studio Dean be cooking?
I mean, I do think the first time you see the explosion is itself a comedic moment because of how much money must have been dumped into every time they animate Megumin's explosion, because it just goes so hard unnecessarily. They did not need to do her animation like that, and then an immediate cut to just Megumin sliding down the grassy hill. I actually think one of my favorite like early moments, which has been heavily memed, is the Aqua pressing her face up against the magic barrier, where she kind of gets like, she's just like, let me out. And when I think she is just crying, bawling her eyes out, and a pause screen comes up for no reason whatsoever. There's just an inexplicable pause screen. Again, comedic moments that are like set by the design, and you can't do in a light novel or even really a manga, that I think were incredible. And yeah, just as you said, very, very bright color palette. As I said earlier, each character very distinctive colors, which helps with a comedy series. And yeah, everything looks great.
I think so. And I feel like the general direction and like the mood of said direction, like, it is very casual and confident in the way it's laid out. Like, the panels are laid out very much like comedic beats, like you talked about, like, as opposed to action sequences. Like, it's very comedy forward with that occasional visual flair, like that you explained regarding the Megumin explosion. So yeah, I feel the directional based mood on point. If we are talking about, Studio Dean, and if this is crunchy or more budget, I feel that it sort of straddles both lines, but I'd maybe lean, if I had to sort of be hard and fast, I'd say budget, but that is with intention. Like, it's done that way because the scenes are simplistic, to be able to spotlight those character interactions over spectacle outside of, the big explosions and stuff like that.
They also go really hard for those comedic moments. When Kazuma learns his infamous steal ability, I'm doing it here on camera. I can't do it on camera. I don't know how they managed to make the steal gesture so creepily high frame rate. I imagine they rotoscoped it. I can't think of another way that you could get those fingers to look so fluid unless you rotoscoped it at like 24 frames per second.
Yeah.
Moments like that, when they use their own budget as a comedic punchline, is really, really clever. And I've not seen a lot of other people do that. Sometimes it's in reverse. Sometimes you'll have a high quality show go to a very dumb panel. It's One Punch Man is a great example of just the Saitama face meme that we all know. But yeah, doing it in a way where a budget show just suddenly gets high budget for absolutely no reason, I have not seen that very often.
No, and I'm totally here for it. Totally here for it. All right, so let's shift into soundtrack and voice acting. As far as the OP and the ED, the opening is a song called Fantastic Dreamer by Machiko. I found it was very bouncy, very peppy, and like perfectly ironic for this very absurd world. And then the ending track is a song called Little Adventurer, a little bit more sweet and mellow. So it does have this nice contrast to the constant chaos that we're dealing with in this world. How did you find the 2 songs?
I am always in love with KonoSuba's openings and endings. The same artist does all of the openings for each season. Fantastic Dreamer is, I absolutely love it. I can't feel sad when that song comes on. It is an instant mood lift for me. It's just beautiful. The ending as well, it's kind of like a sweet, it's like a sweet little letdown. It's not like most endings for most anime. I could kind of, give them. I could love or hate them. I always let the ending play out for KonoSuba as well. Like, it's just a nice. It just kind of steps down from the loud noise of each episode. It's a little soft break before you ramp back up again into the next episode.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I sort of wrote if I was to rate it, it was like, the OP was so fun, I bopped along, and then the ED was so chill, I rewound, was my my little notes there as far as my takeaways. As far as the background music, we get those light orchestral fantasy cues, very jaunty and fun, not too intrusive, like it doesn't overpower or overtake any scene, just enough to sort of highlight the humor and just add a little bit more depth to what's going on.
Yeah, I don't think I could really say that any particular background music meant anything or like really stood out. There's the montage sequence where Kazuma and Aqua are working, doing their day laboring jobs, which is fantastic because they do like this montage sequence that just the music keeps getting faster and faster and faster as it shows them doing the same thing over and over and over again before Kazuma just absolutely crashes out. But otherwise, I think it's perfectly fine. I don't think I need sort of more complicated background music for a show like that.
And I think simplistic background music is, at least for me and what I'm looking for as a viewer, like that works best for me because I don't want it to ever distract me or take away from what's happening in the scene. I want it to, subtly add to what's going on. And I feel that's done in, with great effect here in KonoSuba. As far as the voice performances go, Jun Fukushima, who does Kazuma, I really enjoy that dry, deadpan delivery. Like I feel like not a word is wasted coming out of Jun's voice. Sora Amayama, who voices Aqua, the high energy squeals and the dramatic flair, just I'm here for it all the time. And then like Rei Takahashi and Ai Kayano, who voice Megumin and Darkness, I enjoy that perfect exaggeration we get that is over the top, but also grounded in charm. So I think the voice work for our 4 MCs, perfectly complements what's going on and the characters that they're embodying.
I'll come in here with a different take because I am a notorious dub listener, and the dub cast is probably for me one of the best examples. If you're a dub hater, give it a try. Because the comedic timing for a show like this, because the gags are delivered so quickly, I find being able to just listen to them is incredible. And the cast for the English voice acting is really, really good. Kazuma is voiced by Ani Patoya, who hasn't done too much outside of Konosuba. Aqua is Faye Mata. Megumin is Erica Mendez, and Darkness is Cristina Valenzuela. So Megumin and Darkness both having some pretty famous English VAs, similar to their Japanese counterparts, is really good. For people who are interested in the light novels, the Yen audiobook is dubbed by Ani Patoya and Erica Mendez, with Erica doing both Megumin and all female voices. So if you're worried about men trying to do screechy girl voices in an audiobook, you don't have to worry about it for this one. But yeah, I really enjoy how how Ani just kind of has that. He has a lot higher voice than his Japanese counterpart, which I kind of makes it feel a bit more like a teenage boy to me, and just kind of like losing his shit as everything just keeps getting worse. But yeah, I adore all of the English VAs there.
I love that we did not sort of schedule or pre-discuss this part at all, and just we both organically sort of went 2 different directions, which I really appreciate because, yeah, the English dub of KonoSuba slaps, and I completely agree with you that it is one of the better dubs doing the rounds, and those gags do land more because you are more in the moment just listening instead of having to read and also watch, and you lose some of that context occasionally sometimes too with the the Japanese language tied in with the dub. So no, good call.
I'll also add that, at least from my knowledge, a lot of the English VA was ad-libbed. I'm aware that Erica Mendez ad-libbed a fair amount of Megumin's magic spell that she casts, and there were also just other ad-libs done in the studio booth. Like, they were just kind of allowed to riff and have fun, which I really enjoy, and I think comes across quite naturally when you're listening.
It's like the more controlled and appropriate ghost stories, I guess you could say.
Yes, yes, that definitely feels appropriate.
Yeah. Okay. So let's sort of circle back. We have been dancing around a couple of these things through just the general discussion, but I wanted to know, Brett, like, what are some of your favorite scenes and moments? Like, we did touch on, like I mentioned earlier, a couple of times in previous categories, but is there a few scenes or particular moments in these first 3 episodes that just, hit you in the feels, make you laugh, make you cry, make you love this world more, or just, resonate in another way altogether?
I think, as I said, the first scene when you've got Aqua pressing her face up against the glass panel as she's being physically dragged up into the other world is absolutely fantastic. Followed by their first attempt to get an adventurer card, and Aqua needing to get money lent to her from a follower of another church that is actually run by her junior in heaven. Just the sheer embarrassment on her face is incredible. The montage of them working is so funny, and you kind of get lost in thinking, oh wow, this could actually be a fun way to live in a fantasy life. Not too many like feels. I think that comes later in the season. The characters, as we mentioned earlier, are not entirely selfish. They have a friendship and to some extent a family bond, which you won't get to see until kind of like end of season 1 and into season 2. I think definitely early on it is just the comedy, and I can't remember if the Aqua in a cage is in the first 3 episodes or not.
Is that?
But if it is, it might be episode 4.
Maybe 4, I think. Yeah,
because the party has formed. In any case, I'm just gonna throw it in because it is one of my favorite scenes of throwing the goddess of water into a cage and putting the cage in a crocodile-infested lake, and Aqua just sitting there quietly trying to purify the lake. I don't know. It's just pure comedic genius.
It just works. Like, I think it's not really a scene, it's more of a moment and just a tone setter. Like seeing Kazuma and Aqua when they first arrive in this world and they feel like we're going to get RPG like grandeur and it's going to be great and we're going to be successful adventurers. Then you're seeing the inverse of that, where they're broke, hungry, and realizing this world is like nothing like a video game. Like, that is just such a rug pull moment for me, as far as changing that expectation from what I'm used to with isekai based fantasy that we see all season, every season, and just them just resetting that expectation with this complete shift that always sort of stands out. And I'm always just quietly nodding and smiling in the back end, seeing that shift. Like you mentioned,
I think it establishes as well how similar Kazuma and Aqua are in terms of how much they expect, in that Aqua is a goddess, as she reminds us every 5 seconds. And so she expects to be worshipped wherever she goes. Like, how could she ever have to sleep in a stable? And Kazuma, being the classic NEET, expecting that you get reincarnated as a grand hero, why is he having to be a day laborer and sleep in a filthy stable? Like, both of them actually come from very similar positions of their expectation of what this new world will be like, even though they are completely different types of sort of people.
Yeah, they've got like this preconceived privilege in their heads, and then when none of it is there, they're just at a loss as to what's going on, and seeing them try to adjust. And then I loved seeing them do the menial tasks, the manual labor instead of the adventuring. It's just such a good riff on a formula that we're so familiar with.
Aqua vomiting her rainbow, which is never answered anywhere in the fandom, by the way. It is completely unclear if Aqua can actually get drunk, because she purifies everything she touches. She purifies tea. If she puts her pinky finger in a cup of tea, it turns into tea. And she does accidentally purify alcohol at some point in the light novels. So why is she throwing up?
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense, and it doesn't need to. It's great. But the fact that her vomit is rainbow, it just takes me out every time.
It's so good. So, there's just a constant series of funny, memorable moments. Like we talked about that initial explosion showcase from Megumin. I think that really stands out. Yeah, and something you mentioned just before, Brett, like seeing Kazuma's steel skill, like that I did not expect that to play out at all. Not only, the sexually suggestive, naughty, cheeky hand
The
movement,
fingers.
which, like you said, gorgeously animated. Like Studio Dean, like, well done. I know you invested a lot of money into that.
That's amazing. It's amazing.
But yeah, seeing that steel skill in action, and he's doing that ability, and then he accidentally steals Megumin's underwear, and then seeing the guild just instantly turn against him. Like, I'm like, okay, this is the perfect amount of pervy for me. Like, it dances around the smutty crassness. It doesn't dive in head first, but it gives me just enough to feel a little cheeky and do like almost like an Anya Forger laugh/look expression when I'm watching this, because it hits exactly where I wanted it to.
And Kazuma getting his comeuppance is kind of what I mentioned earlier in terms of the show knowing where the boundaries are. It's able to make the ecchi, pervy jokes, but it doesn't reward the characters for doing those things. It shows the consequences to the actions, whether that's Chris getting immediately angry, or poor Megumin getting all bashful and having the entire guild go on her side. The characters most definitely do get what's coming to them when they do bad things, which I think is good and balances it out.
And I think you segued that to perfection there, Mr. Brett Michael Orr, because the next part we're going to shift into is this more than hentai? So, fan service and broader genre expectations. As far as the actual fan service, I think that you've just touched on fantastically there. It is very moderate. We get some butt jokes, some skimpy antics, some panty stealing gags like in episode 3, but overall it doesn't sort of dive fully into it. It sort of dances around the periphery, gives us a little bit of fan service here and there, but overall it's pretty good. And then sort of shifting into sort of that ecchi tastefulness, it is very low level. It's mostly used for laughs. It's not used for just cheap horny boys that are watching it for other reasons. So I enjoy the fan service and that sort of use of that and ecchi to a very low degree. And then we talked about tropes throughout this. They play with tropes all the damn time, but I mean that in the best way, because it's an isekai, but it's mean, it's funny, and it's aware, and just the way it can parody this genre while constantly delivering entertaining story beats and endless supplies of comedy. Again, testament to the writers.
Yeah, definitely agree. It is more than hentai, and I think definitely give it those 3 episodes or so to see where the characters are leading you deeper into the series without spoiling anything. It becomes a bit more of a found family, which actually makes it even sweeter, I think, because all of these characters, as we've said, they're all flawed, but they are able to complement each other. They are able to fill the gaps that all of them have, not effectively, not very well, but sort of some of their little found family elements makes me come back to the series time and again. They're very relatable characters, they're very enjoyable characters, and that's kind of it's why it's always got a soft spot in my heart.
Yeah, as far as that sort of segment call out again, this is definitely more than hentai. It's more than isekai, more than fantasy, and more than tropes. I enjoy that it is this meta, messy, and gleefully irrelevant piece of content that, like you just said, it holds a pride of place in my heart as well, because it's just so enjoyable and timeless. And just, I vibe with these characters. I vibe with the world. I vibe with the tone, and I need to read. I own the manga, but I haven't read a single page. So I'm sort of living through this world through the anime only, which I love and I'm thankful for, but my lack of patience because I want more. Now I'm looking over there, it's sort of whispering, it's pick me up and read me after this podcast. So maybe I need to finally get in.
The light novels and manga and anime are all just separate enough. I own all of them and have read as much as I can. They all offer just slightly different gags, which I think is really, really great how the writers have adapted it per medium. There are some jokes that I think only work in the light novels. There's some jokes that are visual jokes that work really well in the manga. And as I mentioned, there are some like audiovisual jokes that you could only do in anime, like being able to pause the anime while Aqua was crying. You can't do that in any other medium. So it's been very well adapted in each of those different formats, and there's been a lot of care and attention put in by all of the writers involved. And I was just going to say, if you do like the parody element to KonoSuba is part of the Isekai Quartet, which is the I think it's now up to 3 seasons or 4 of various isekai shows where all of the characters get transplanted into a classroom, which is a show that does sort of require you to have watched multiple of them, but you get to see all of the characters interacting with each other, and Kazuma interacting with Subaru from ReZero, and them comparing each other's girls and who has a terrible experience is an absolute standout joke from Isekai Quartet, and
good.
makes you feel so bad for Kazuma because of how terrible his luck is.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, I've been very negligent on that because I'm yet to really watch any of it, and I've heard many a good thing. So I need to also, I think it's whispering to me as well that I need to go check that out. But let's sort of shift gears. Let's talk about that first 3 episode, the impact and the watchability. Like, I know it's probably a bit of a rhetorical question at this point, but after those first 3 episodes, whether it be on a rewatch or whether it be first time viewing, like, how did it leave you feeling, Brett? Like, did it leave you wanting more? Did you feel like you needed to jump straight into the 4th episode and keep rolling? Or were you like, I'm good. I've had enough for now. I'm going to go do something else and circle back. Like, what was the vibe check after the first 3 episodes?
Well, I mean, my most recent binge that I did was all 3 seasons in a row, which was what led me to kind of talk about this with you. And I actually have the Blu-rays behind me, and I don't buy the Blu-rays for many things, but I just had to own these. As I said, it is a comfort watch show. I could watch the entire season in a go, and I don't do that for pretty much anything. I usually have a limit where I kind of get tired, even if it's something that I really enjoy. KonoSuba is just the perfect background watch. It is the perfect comedy for lifting your spirits. Watching the first 3 episodes is always fun to see them come together, and then watching them fail spectacularly, fail upwards. It's just never. Yeah, I'm sitting here with a big smile on my face because it is just that type of show.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, it certainly left me wanting more, and I'm of the mindset where if it's all available, I need it now and I'll consume it until I am physically dead. So when there is a full season available, typically I'll roll through that until I have to go to sleep or just sacrifice more sleep to finish that season. So yeah, the bug bit me with KonoSuba when it first aired, and with this recent rewatch this week after that 3rd episode, I'm like, shit, I've got to watch it all now. I'm going to go through all this over the next week or 2 and rewatch everything and feel great, because I just want to roll with this dysfunctional crew. Like, I love them, and I know there's the broader whole arch villain at stake and they got to save the world, but I'm more so concerned about the day-to-day and that found family narrative that these 4 live in, as opposed to, fighting the big bad and saving the world. So yeah, I just want to just live and coexist in this space with them and just watch them get up to all kinds of hijinks. And yeah, I think I'm going to start watching, episode 4 and beyond after this. I've got a long flight on Sunday, so maybe I'll queue it up on the iPad for then and sort of start watching it through on the flight across on Sunday night, because it's a good time. It's a very, very good time. I'm probably going to answer this for both of us, this next one, where it was like, you got to binge this or pass this. I think you've already indirectly answered that.
I've already binged it.
Yeah. You are a binge boy. I'm a binge boy with this as well. It's great for comedy lovers, great for genre lovers, but it's also great for, I just need something ridiculous and catchy to check out. Like, this thing just grabs you and doesn't let go. And then when it does let go, you realize that it's also stolen your underpants. So like, it is a good time and well worth the watch. How would you rate the first 3 episode hook? Like, if you were to sort of describe the hook after those 3 episodes in a couple of words, a phrase, however you want to best sort of sort of explain this to me and the audience, how would you rate the KonoSuba hook?
I would say if I had to rate it, I think it's a very fair sort of 8 out of 10 for the first 3 episodes. I think that's probably on the lower side of what I would give the whole season. But I think setup necessarily sometimes is a little lower. But it is a perfect absurdism look at fantasy, at isekai. It introduces lovable characters, lovable, flawed characters. And as I mentioned earlier, if you are a fan of IRL comedy shows like Always Sunny or Seinfeld, if you like seeing somewhat bad characters get their comeuppance, but you're loving them and laughing alongside, you're going to love those first 3 episodes and keep on watching after that.
Hell yeah. Before I ask the last question, like I just wanted to sort of broad brush this. And if you are still on the fence about KonoSuba, the most common compared anime on my anime list with KonoSuba are as follows, and some we've already spoken about throughout this podcast as well. ReZero, Dan Marshy, aka Is It Wrong to Try and Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? Combatants Will Be Dispatched, Cautious Hero, Princess Connect, and No Game, No Life. So if you vibed and loved any of those anime I just referenced, there's a damn high chance you're going to vibe and love KonoSuba. And if you don't love KonoSuba, come talk to me, because I feel you've got some issues we need to unpack there, because it is fantastic. But Brett, as the last cherry blossoms here begin to fall, so too shall your parting words. But before you do, please know that this segment is presented by our friends over at Ice Tea Aesthetics, where anime meets streetwear. Use code Sakura Society 5, that is the number 5 at checkout, to save yourself some cold, hard cash on your order. But Brett, what are your final thoughts, and what would you score KonoSuba using the Senpai scale of bad, mid, good, great, and amaze?
I'm going to have to give it an amaze. It is one of my all-time favorite comedy series. I always watch it when I'm feeling down, when I need a pick-me-up. I think the light novels, the manga, and the anime are always going to be part of me. These little weird characters are always going to be part of my found family, and definitely part of my figure cabinet for a while to come.
Hell yeah. Like, I feel, as far as like a broad brush, really quick shoot from the hip, like if I was going to try and explain or rate this hook, it's like you're in the gutter and it's goddamn hilarious. Like, it is such a good time. It's a good watch. It's a good read from what Brett's mentioned throughout this last, hour and 18 minutes. And I feel I'm going to be turning those pages before I go to bed tonight. But dude, thank you so much for stopping on by. Thank you so much for shedding a wealth of information on one of the most fantastic and most underrated isekai doing the rounds. 39th most popular anime on anime list. So I know that might contradict with what I said about being underrated, but I still feel it is. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, 39th is pretty low. I wouldn't be bragging necessarily if I was 39th at most things, but there are some amazing anime out there. I definitely think it could be a little higher up on the list, but hard to argue with the wealth of incredible anime we've had in the last sort of 2 decades. I personally wouldn't want to be making my own top 50. Please don't ask me that.
Yeah, I've got mine, and it's so painful to sort of see things slide up or slide down, especially when future seasons come out, and it's like, oh, that's great, it elevates now. Oh, that sucks, you're out of the 50. Like, it is very painstakingly delicate to deal with. But yeah, this is the last time before we switch off the microphone. I want you to take the show floor. I want you to shout out all the great things you're working on, all the great things you've got coming up that listeners and viewers can sort of check out as well, that you wanted to sort of spruik. So Brett, the floor is yours.
Some of the things I'm working on at the moment, as we said at the start of the podcast, go check out Anime Atelier. Links are in the comments of the podcast, which is the anime news blog that I work with. We have weekly newsletters for summarizing all of the incredible trailers and anime news dropping each week. I'm going to be attending PAX Australia for Anime Atelier coming soon, and we'll be doing the rounds with Brendan, no doubt, or at least I'll bump into you.
We'll be doing the rounds.
It'll be really exciting. And yeah, I also work with J-List to do cosplay columns twice a week. So if you like cosplayers and lewd cosplayers as well, I have some excellent content for you over there, which pretty much perfectly ties into our More Than Hentai brand here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you do many a great thing, some that will remain a mystery until they maybe do a bit more digging on some of the cool things you're up to maybe one day. But yes, you're a very, very talented individual, and I appreciate you very much for taking some time out on your Friday night while you're still under the weather to talk about one of the best isekai anime out there. So thank you so much for giving up your time and your thoughts and your love this evening. I'm sure this is going to be a great episode to listen back to. But yeah, appreciate you, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It is now time for me to go play Silk Song.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
My final shout out, go play Hollow Knight Silk Song. It is finally out after 7 years.
Yeah, shout out to Team Cherry and shout out to everybody out there supporting this podcast and all the others. Like I said at the start, rate, review, subscribe where you can. Follow me on all the socials at More Than Senpai, and also be sure to chuck some likes and comments and shares on the video content I'm trying to get out there into the World Wide Web on TikTok, on Instagram, and on YouTube. But whether your anime be subbed, dubbed, or still yet to come, enjoy yourself and much love to all the gorgeous waifus and husbandos out there. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.